Hello, everybody. Welcome to Insights Fusion. Today, we are diving into the world of cybersecurity with a guest who is on the mission to stop internet crime and make security simple. Welcome, Dylan Evans.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here. Looking forward to talking.
Awesome. So Dylan is the founder of SimpleSalt, a company dedicated to helping law firms navigate cybersecurity without the usual complexity and excessive costs. His approach challenges traditional security methods, focusing on real crime prevention rather than just compliance checklists and boring documentation. With years of experience in security leadership, Dylan has worked with major corporations, led cybersecurity risk initiatives, and now runs his own startup to make effective security accessible, clear, headache-free. In this conversation, we will explore the real cybersecurity threats law firms face today and other firms potentially, why traditional security methods fail and what works instead, how Dylan built SimpleSalt and scale it into a competitive industry, the role of AI and emerging tech in cybersecurity, and of course, lessons in leadership, resilience, and growing mission-driven startup. So Dylan, welcome again to Insights Fusion. Awesome to have you here. So what is it you do? Could you tell us?
Start with a question. If you needed to solve a cybersecurity problem for your business, you had a concern that there was risk, where would you go to solve that, or like to find out if it was a real problem or what you should do about it?
It's a good question. I'm not even sure if everyone knows. It's a bit mysterious area. So usually what in my role we get like regulations. I work a lot with medical area SaaS B2B platforms. So it's like MDR, NHS, HIPAA. They all tell you what you need to do and how you need to comply. But if it was something else, like
some sort of a regulation authority, maybe, to say, because they set like a minimum bar of care. That's probably a decent place to start. This is the question we answer for people. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people do not know how to answer these two questions. How worried should I be, and what should I do about it? Now, there are three main answers, and I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. Do you want me to give you the standard answers that people tell me?
give interesting ones.
First is the most boring, right? You Google it,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Yes,
and you're going to find some top 10 listicles, right? You're going to find like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. But nowhere does it say, by the way, this is for bankruptcy lawyers between 10 and 30 partners, right? Doesn't say that at the top. It gives the same advice for everybody. Isn't that interesting? And if you go to another popular one is like, you know, a guy, right? I got a friend in the security business. I'll call her up and she'll tell me what I need to know, what I got to do. We'll have a drink and she'll set me straight. Okay. And the third one is you go pay somebody. You let your fingers do the walking. You find some cyber firm that and you ask them these questions and you pay them $20,000, $40,000. They give you a report, right? Of trying to answer these questions. Have you ever had experience with any of these? Sorry?
You need to know what kind of questions to ask, otherwise you will pay 20 grand and you will get answers that you didn't even need.
Yes, this is the perennial problem with management consultants, right? You got to know what you don't know, right? Because if you don't know what you don't know, that's a tough spot. Have you had any experience with the security industry? Have you ever worked?
Yeah, well, I worked where we needed that, so you know, had some. It's a lot of documentation, terribly a lot. It's like weeks reading.
Yeah. And did you get the feeling when you entered that space or when you worked with that space that you had a confident idea of the answers to these two questions? Like once you were done with your interactions with the security team or whatever company, did you feel confident that you knew how worried you should be and what you should do about it?
I think knowing how worried you should be, and after talking to those people, you get super worried after that. Crazy, scary.
And then after that, yeah. So So this is always what happens, usually what happens when you pay a cybersecurity firm, or maybe you do some Googling. You get super worried. And the reason is you're coming with these two questions and you think they're answering those questions, but they're not. They're answering some different questions. What they give you is a long list of bad things that you're doing, a long list of problems, misconfigurations, old software, bad passwords. Usually they're technical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this question was in your mind, this question of how worried should I be and what should I do about it? Like, what's actually worth my time? Advise me credibly. And
What
you get
exactly to do?
well, you get a lot. Yeah, they tell you this is exactly what to do, but they don't bring it back to what you care about. And so the implicit assumption is if you do all these things that they say on their checklist, on their, all the problems they found, you'll be fine. And if you don't, big problems, right? This is the implication of the service. And even if you ask them,
it's still vague. What problems exactly?
and maybe you ask them, maybe you do know what you need to ask, and so you ask, okay, great, I have 7,500 problems to solve, but how worried should I be? Like, this is what I care about. Here's where the revenue is. Here's which, I don't know, customers are on the line and are willing to drop us. And here's what my CEO cares about. Here's like, we got a consent decree. I don't know. These things are important. I know. Weigh it with the other, with your stuff. Tell me where it should fit in those priorities.
Exactly.
They hardly ever do. They'll respond with, well, there is significant risk in these issues. And they'll prioritize them amongst themselves, but they won't bring them back to what you already know about and what you already care about.
But doesn't it mean that if they prioritize the risks, they kind of picks up accountability for missing something out? So I'm doing management consultant myself, so I kind of know that you give all the options and eventually it's up to CEO to make the final decision. You advise, you give all the information, but you cannot say, oh, do this, it will be fine. Nobody knows if you do it correctly, if you even do all the things that needs to be done.
And in most management consulting, that's exactly right. Like cost takeout, profit optimization, like waste reduction, like scrap reduction. These are known problems, and management consultants are very good at it. The difference with cyber, do you fit in one of those buckets? Like, is your management consulting a little more well understood?
It's technical mostly, like product, like development, engineering, building like both departments, all around that kind of areas.
Yeah.
So there is cybersecurity component also.
Yes, there is. Okay. Well, this is great then. This is great. You're going to know more than most. All right. The hidden agenda, the hidden question that those cyber folks are going to be answering is not how worried should I be? It's if a bad thing happens, am I going to be blamed for it? Like, will I be able to defend myself? That is a different question. For some industries, it's the same question because what's good is the same as what's defensible, right? If you're doing the right thing, it's defensible. But cyber moves fast and the law moves slow. So what 10 years ago hasn't worked for 8 years, but precedent gets established in the courts so slowly that it's only beginning to be defensible now. If your customer comes to you and says, these are all the things they want you to do for cyber compliance, due diligence checklist or something, there's some truly ancient things on there that were good ideas in 2003 and haven't been effective for not much long after that. And so in cyber anyway, the set of things that are effective, that stop crime, have almost no overlap with the set of things that make you defensible. And so when you get a cyber consultant or a risk assessment or something, they're not trying to make you crime resistant. They're trying to make you defensible because that's the incentive of most of the people, the departments that are hiring them.
You comply with all the regulations. If something happens, You have the document. You say, I did everything I could. What's
Yes, I did
required.
what a reasonable person would do. And this is the other, you said in security, there's so much documentation, right?
Oh,
It's the
yes.
same incentive at work, because if you do all the right things, but you can't prove it, you're wasting your time. So you have to be very defensible, do all the right things, and then document that you have done all the right things, provably, like in a court of law. That is success for business security leadership, usually.
Well, I understand how legal would look into it. It makes sense, but there would still be a massive damage for the brand itself. If you leak
Yes.
all the, let's say, SSNs, all those codes, for example, nobody ever will want to have anything to do with you anymore. If they know about it, of course.
And so the incentives for the stakeholders, the owners of the business, are different than the incentives of the person signing off on a buying order for a cyber advisory. And the owners are rarely educated enough to know the difference there. I mean, most people don't know the difference. Even in cyber, this is a understood secret, but it takes you like 5 or 10 years to figure it out. And by the time you do, you're committed, right?
I think maybe we could define somehow the cyber criminals or like that kind of issues, because I kind of imagine the topic, but whoever is listening, they might not, because what is that cybercrime? What could go wrong, you know?
Yeah. There's good news. Like, of the two, like what's defensible and what works is a lot easier. But it's not one size fits all, right? What's highly risky, we've been cheating each other for, I don't know, millennia, right? Like, since the dawn of time, people have been scamming each other and cheating each other and,
Yeah,
I don't know, doing wrong things. In 2025, most of our interactions, our business interactions, happen over the computer, right?
right.
For most of us. And so most crime is internet crime. And our protection hasn't kept up, right? Because we are trying to be defensible. We have a very physical security focused mindset, because that's a solved problem. We know what a locked door is. But so the most successful way to stop internet crime from really damaging your company is you start with, well, what kind of crime would really damage my company? And it's going to be different for different businesses. But you can't write that if you're doing a BuzzFeed article, right? It's different for every business.
Definitely. Yeah.
So if you are, let's take lawyers, okay? If you're a commercial lawyer doing, I don't know, like contract reviews and agreements, mergers, I don't know, kind of like every day, your clients mostly come from your area. If you lost your client data, like a contract under Redline, your client would be kind of grumpy at you, right? But it's not like super secret stuff. Their business would not be over. But you've probably got 10, 20, 30 million in trust accounts under your control. It would be pretty bad if someone defrauded you of all that in one go, right? That's not your money.
Would be.
That would be bad. That would be a lot
Very,
worse
very
than
bad.
losing a partially redline contract, right?
Yes.
So that threat profile for the, like, your friendly local business lawyer, it's mostly about the trust accounts. And so the solution for that lawyer is they need to be real tight about how they disperse money.
Okay, but you know, they probably think that they will not be dumb and they will not make random transfers of 30 million, and you know, they will try not to click on weird links on email and stuff like that. But you know, what should they do? Because it's kind of okay, antivirus, passwords, maybe some one password kind of app, you know, maybe two-factor and stuff like that. But what actually can, like, what should you even think about?
This is the hard part, right? It's the same, it's different for everybody. Because let's take two different business law firms. One is 10 people, like 2 partners, 3 junior partners, an office manager, and some paralegals. Okay. And their office manager does all the books, does all the disbursements. Okay. Let's take someone else. Maybe it's a 30-person firm and they have outsourced like disbursements to some managed service they get from their bank, right? As part of like a treasury management package. And the way each of those firms makes sure that the money goes to the right recipient is going to be very different. In the first case, let's say Pam's the office manager. You're going to be real tight about, you can add a lot of control these days to separating who gets paid from actually making the payments, right? So maybe Pam isn't able to key in ACH details or change wire transfer details. Maybe somebody else does that and it's all either in person or on video, or maybe it's written into the contract, right? Mm-hmm. That's a real strong way of showing people that you're serious about this. This is the number I'm paying only and ever unless we rev the contract. That's a simple change. And Deb says, okay, this person, client A, the settlement is done. It's time to get them paid. All right, the amount is this. And she finds the preset person that had already been added to the system as an approved payee and says, okay, this amount, and keys it in. That alone solves a huge amount of fraud compared to having just one person do it.
Right.
Worried about Pam either, right? A lot of people, when you bring up this situation, think, oh, I trust Pam. Pam's great. She's as honest as can be. She'd never do me wrong. You're right. But you're not worried about Pam. You're worried about Pam and anyone who can pretend to be Pam, which is a little harder.
That stuff I've seen in real life.
Yeah. And people make this false equivalence between the person and their judgment and trustworthiness and the access and account. Pam might be honest, but she might not be sophisticated about knowing which emails are junk, are spam, are trying to pull one over. We're all good at different things. So how can you... Real success comes from decoupling high-risk activity so that the high-risk part gets as small as possible. Why do you need so many passwords? You probably don't. Can you make like the password part, this weak password part, as small as possible for connecting to all the systems you need? There's an art to that. You can go to conferences just on that alone.
Mm-hmm. Well, practically, even if you use password managers, to make it easier, if you lose the password manager's master password, you're screwed completely.
It's still a single point of failure. This is okay. So you're pretty hip to the jive to the Silicon Valley. I can tell the fail fast and all that, right? You've probably been to plenty of conferences and you've probably given talks yourself. This is the coolest thing that's happening to the security industry right now. It's getting generic. There's nothing particularly unique about security risks. Really, security risks are pretty much the same fact pattern as any other resiliency risk, whether it's like someone leaving, like you're one person that you depend on, the whole office depends on, them leaving. That's a resiliency risk. You have only one account. That's a resiliency risk.
True, but it's hard to imagine. It's like, for me at least, it's probably not on the same level, because what I have seen myself was in London. I worked with a company which had clients who are like superstars, like max top level people, and there were guys stalking outside when the CEO leaves. There was another guy whom I even seen who was like infiltrated into the office, and we were drinking coffee, and I don't know, like I work remote, I just visiting like for a week there. So some random dude is like drinking coffee and chatting, like, who are you? How are you doing? What's this guy's name? What he does? Blah, blah, blah. And then like somebody came in like, who the hell are you? And he dropped the cup and ran away. And it's like everybody's like, what the F just happened, And then, everybody started talking. So what's going on? Like, who's that guy, And then a couple, I think, days later, CEO left, and one of the ladies who was able to do transactions got an email from supposedly the CEO. Could you please refund this client? Here's his like account number. I just left and I just remembered, so it's only you who can do that, blah blah blah. It's like email looking legitimate, like maybe one letter different, in the email. That level of involvement is like doing research and getting inside, knowing names. Like even if they call or write back, they could say, "Oh, other name. Talk to them," blah blah blah, stuff like that.
This is one of the worst, the most painful parts for like medium growing law firms, like 50 to 100 people, to come to grips with. The managing partners usually succeed because they're in control. They know what's going on and they're making sure it's all good. They're smart. They got plenty of brains during the day. They can do it. But each detail takes up more space in their brain. And at some point, they become the single point of failure. Maybe not through their judgment, but if they are inconsistent about how they ask, how they direct work, the people around them wouldn't know to question an imposter. And so a lot of the time you get great results from just standardizing the way these risky. Why should the CEO be directly involved in a customer refund? Maybe he or she should know about it. Refund, that's a finance thing. That's a contractual thing, right?
Right.
I'm a CEO. I don't want to be the only one making a judgment call about, I don't know, like a $10 million transaction, right? I got people for that.
True. Well, I guess it depends on the size of the company. So if it's like enterprise, 1,000 employees, definitely CEO won't. I imagine they don't even want to know. But if it's
yeah, you're right. If it's a 50-person firm, odds are good they're getting involved in all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the point at which they need to start letting go. I've noticed it usually happens when it's not just one management layer. When you have one senior partner and you've got attorneys working under them, doing case, and the senior partner's off like selling to big clients, right? Standard pattern. And like getting involved in little ones and having their name on the cases. That I think works pretty well. This pattern of like they are involved in the day-to-day. These are the riskiest activities. So they feel like these are the last ones I want to let go. And they don't recognize, paradoxically, those are the ones they need to let go first, because like every other person on the planet, they judge themselves by their best performance, right? They feel super confident at 3 p.m. They got a lot of stuff done. Everybody's happy with them. They're at the top of their game. They're super sharp. But the them that they need to protect is the them that's cramming emails on a Sunday morning at 6:40, just trying to get stuff out of the way. That's the them who's going to fall for something. And delegating means that the 6:40 a.m. on a Sunday isn't doing that stuff. It's somebody else at their 3 p.m. sharp as they can be. And it's hard. It's hard to know when to make that transition.
But I can imagine there's some ego element there. So lose big portion of control. I can imagine like how that might feel to some. And probably there's that journey. So you start small, right? So you start small, you do everything yourself. So the team grows, but if it's like 5 people team, you're not gonna give somebody else like do all those transactions. You keep going with that stuff, and it grows, and it feels so natural. Like, why would you even give this? It feels like risk to give that power to somebody else in the company, So counterintuitive.
Yeah, it is deeply counterintuitive, especially for the high performance people that go off and start firms. They're very confident. And this is a tough thing. And I think a lot of firms never get over it, right? That's why you have a lot of 10 or 20 person firms. I mean, there's also a lot of efficiency benefits, but I think there are a lot of 10, 20 person firms that wish they could be bigger, but they can't seem to get over that hump. And in my narrow experience, I think it has to do with giving up control and finding a way to delegate while still like ensuring good performance. It's
Just
hard.
a couple of episodes ago, I had a discussion with a guest that you should build your business as if you were like preparing to exit. So exit not only as sell it, but if you exit like completely yourself and there's like your wife left or kids who would need to take over, and if you hold everything in your hands, it will fall apart even if you, let's say, get into hospital for a month. That's the same idea, just that one was how to run it and this one how to make it secure.
It's the same thing. I'm really glad you brought that up. It's exactly the same thing. Most people do not think of themselves as a source of failure. And so they have this blind spot about the risk from them. And whether you're like, this is all strategic plans, whether you're talking about managing cash flow, like a lot of partners keep that pretty tight to their chest too. And because they've been burned before about someone else not like barely making payroll that quarter or something. That's painful stuff. And when someone else fails you, there's this instinctual need to like, no, not doing that again.
Exactly.
And I get it. I don't know. Security is getting exciting, guys. It might be what forces you into letting go. And there's a good way and a bad way to let go of things, right? Some things you never want to let go. Your firm identity, your brand promise. What are we good at? How do people perceive us? Never let that go. Never outsource that. That's who you are. But you will never.
Sorry.
No, go.
In one big firm, when we worked, CEO was always there to review designs of the pages. Like he was super busy, huge company, but all the public stuff was reviewed. So nobody could do any dumb or weird stuff or innovate too crazy. He's like, no, not gonna happen. What is this?
Yeah, this is true. You can over control the brand. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. How do you govern to get people to follow the substance of your vision instead of just following orders? That's a hard one.
I just thought what you meant, there are some things that you shouldn't let go, because even like if you let that go, it will change a lot and it might be a problem. So I just chipped in, with this example.
I think we can all think of plenty of companies that had amazing core aspects of their business, culture or brand vision or message, and they let that go. And it was the beginning of the end. And they got acquired 10 years later, maybe 4 years later. There are some things you shouldn't let go.
Mm-hmm.
But finance and IT, you're good at finance and IT, unless you're an accounting shop or an IT shop. And even then, you probably recognize better than most that you are good at only this tiny slice, and there's so much more, right?
Oh, yes. You very quickly become a bottleneck if you do it all yourself.
Yeah, you are not good at it. And those are high-risk activities, and they require an immense amount of attention to detail. In security, you don't get credit for your best work. Right? Mom does not put security's strongest, most excellently configured process on the fridge with the magnet. No, you get credit for the weakest one because that's what's going to get exploited to defraud you. And in a similar way, you are not good at knowing all the different things that can go wrong in finance. You run a different business. You run a lawn mowing manufacturing company. You know about lean manufacturing, maybe. You know about different kinds of steel, where to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know about finance. You know how to read a P&L. You know what healthy looks like, but keeping up to date on the latest how to do three-way match in 2025 with intangible goods and people who text, invoice approvals, don't waste your time on that, man. That's not true. You got better things to do with your life.
Interesting. So when talking about cybersecurity and cybercrime, so it's not only in the security perspective that you might imagine, a burglar comes in and tries to steal your data. but security is actually way broader term. It's like security from even yourself, so you wouldn't mess up. It's security for the process and for the correctness of all the actions everybody does. It's not just like thieves outside trying to do something evil.
And worse, you live in a society that's changing, and trust is important. Your customers or the stakeholders in your priorities and your verticals are going to give you grief if they think you're bad at it. And they are all going to have different ideas of what bad at it is. Stopping the thief in this modern world is just a very different activity than persuading your I don't know, landlord that you're going to stop the thief. And so in the most sophisticated organizations, the ones that need to take security really seriously, these are totally different departments. They got totally different success metrics, totally different cultures within each department. They do totally different activities. They talk, but the compliance and customer trust, and trust is a good word for, it's a very popular, very fad word for this idea right now. How do you communicate to all these people, regulators, auditors, customers, that you're doing a decent job, compliance, and then crime stopping? And I think that doesn't have to be just the most sophisticated companies. We can do it too. 10-person law firm can do it too. What you tell your customer, they don't know what they're talking about. They keep texting you bank statements. They don't know security from a hole in the ground. But what you need to tell them to make them feel comfortable and establish that trust, it's an art form. It's a competence.
Okay, interesting. So I want to touch one more topic, which is very hyped nowadays. Probably know already. So how about AI and machine learning, maybe, or generative AI? Any of those. How can it be used? How it's involved? Wondering, so is it any good? Is it any good to help us? Or is it's just a risk, What can we do with it?
It's a long version, short version, and a goofy version. Which do you want?
Can you start with the goofy one and expand later?
Yeah. Goofy one is the worst thing to happen to the rest of us as far as security is concerned. Because for most of us, we do not warrant like someone coming in and pretending to have coffee and chatting people up. That's skillful. You cannot send a low salary 2-year experienced person out to do that work. That's top dollar. That kind of security effort is for CEOs and mafiosos and things like that. I don't know about you. I don't warrant that quite yet. For the rest of us, it's boring. It's like a call center in Belarus, right? They got a script. They're reading from the script. They got leads that are coming in, which is just like your name and number and might be a sucker for scenario 2, right? Warm leads. And they call the leads and they run the script just like any outbound sales call center, and they try to get the money. Whatever they need to say, they do. And that's worth it for this like low skill, fraud scam business. If you have millions and millions and millions, then maybe you're worth sending someone, the white glove folk after. Here is where AI comes in. AI is really good at sounding persuasive, but it's really bad at being right. That is a perfect fit for a low-grade scam call center. They're going to fire folks and replace them with a chatbot, right? Pour one out for the poor, like, if not fired already, soon to be fired call center scam artist, right? Because they're like, right. Belarus does not publish very accurate, job unemployment numbers for the scam industry, right? And it's not Belarus. Like, I'm not slamming Belarus. There's plenty in India. There's plenty in Thailand. There's probably plenty in, like, Oklahoma. I don't know. The other downside is, so they can do this for pennies, much cheaper, but also much higher quality, right? So before, you and I, it would only be worth sending someone with not a lot of experience after us. But now you can send a really sophisticated chatbot after us for pennies that can pretend to be the FBI, the IRS, Interpol, your grandma. pretty well.
Interesting. I've tried one platform. It's Bland.ai. It does phone calls, and now the latest, the most expensive model, a bit off. The voice sounds kind of bit weird, but if you're not messing around a lot with AI voice, you might not tell a difference. And you write the whole prompt to it. You can even write workflows, what to say. If the response is positive, do this. If response is negative, do that. And you like connect arrows to all those different blocks. It can call the database. It can do something else. It can Google it by itself. But it's not cheap. 1 minute is about like 40 cents. I think in those countries, it might still be cheaper.
Yeah, but you're getting a lot higher quality for 40 cents a minute.
Definitely. It's like,
right?
Creepy.
So this has already started happening, right? Like a flood of sophisticated scams have started to hit US businesses, European businesses, richer countries. And as the sophistication and affordability of AI continues, and the expertise in the scam industry in AI, how to tune it to get what they want, increases, it's going to be a commodity skill. It's going to be a commodity platform. You know, pre-tuned AI models for calling vulnerable elderly adults pretending to be the IRS. $40 a month.
Yeah. I can even come up with a new innocent modern scam that you might not even understand you are doing. So there's another like startup. I think it's called usemassive.com. And there you pay about $100 per month and you upload your CV, you upload your skills and all sorts of things about you. Then you tell, I want like head of engineering, let's say VP engineering, whatever, all the things you write down there. And then it generates CV based on job requirements and your original CV and sends. And they claim that they apply to about 200 jobs a month with kind of fake CVs, like adapted CVs to them. It's actually a scam. At least I think it's a scam, but the user might not really like realize what is this, you know? It's terrible.
I think that is an excellent example of a deeper truth in society right now. The traditional mechanisms of trust that we've been using for the past 50, 80 years are quickly becoming irrelevant. Signatures don't really indicate who you are anymore. Anyone can replicate a signature. A phone call, just in the last several years, people can fake phone calls. People can pretty easily fake somebody else's voice and mannerisms. Video's coming next, right? The traditional HR, like post a job rec, collect resumes, I mean, that hasn't been effective for 10 years probably. You got to know somebody, right? And so there's this, it's like a cat and mouse game between people trying to game the system and people trying to like run the system, trying to keep them all at bay. And it'll be a fun one. I saw, here's a little bit off the beaten path, but I saw a fun one where people were buying the same item off Temu and Amazon. And the one from Temu takes a lot longer to arrive, especially now. But it's a lot cheaper. And then, so they'd get the Amazon one like next day. And then when they got the Temu one like a month later, they would return the Temu one as the Amazon one. Now, I'm not sure that's worth my time. Like, it's a, what does trust mean in a world of drop shipping? I remember there was a company that was like directly selling some sort of high-end dog stuff. And you could either buy it on Amazon for 30% more or direct from the website. And someone was posting as an Amazon reseller, rekeying on the website, their website, and was paying the freight to ship it directly to the customer who bought off Amazon and pocketing the difference. They didn't have to leave their chair. Brilliant. But the problem is people saw the box that it came in. It came from the direct manufacturer. And so they were like, oh, I didn't want to pay this much. They went and looked up the price. I didn't want to pay this much. And so they returned it. But the original seller eats the return fee, right? Not the drop shipper. And so this drop shipper can, like at no risk to themselves, make bank. And if it goes wrong, it's like the company they're taking advantage of is the one who has to deal with all the returns.
Damn.
What is trust these days? It's a wild and crazy ride. We're just starting.
It's like a new internet when it was like 95, 2000s. It's like wild, wild west. Next level.
Next level. Yeah. Luckily, I don't know. These things happen. In security anyway, you don't have to be immune, right? You're not going for perfect unless, like, I don't know, the Chinese military's after you, right? All you have to be is better than terrible, because scammers are opportunists. They're going to go after the easy marks first. All you have to do is avoid being an easy mark.
Exactly.
It's not so bad.
Shouldn't be too hard to do
Sure.
that.
You also got to be lucky, but
I think there are companies that you can hire which tries to scam your staff, and then writes a report, who fell for it.
yeah, these are great services. In security, they call them pen tests, but there's a lot of good ways of like paying other people to break you, to show you where you're vulnerable. The downside is, but a pen test only makes sense if you have already done the easy stuff, right? So you're looking for hard stuff. Sure. So only the really sophisticated shops who have everything together are buying pen tests, right? So customers start asking for pen tests. Do you have a pen test? Because it indicates a level of trust.
Exactly. And it's super expensive.
You hire a drunk hobo off the street into your C-suite security position. First thing he does is commission a pen test. And it doesn't matter what it says, honestly. Like, he bought a pen test.
Check. Proudly put on the website, the hero blog, that it's done.
Pen tested by this and that firm, yeah. And so pen testing is a great business. There's plenty of demand for it, if only for that reason. It is getting supplanted, though, by bug bounty programs, and I'm a huge fan. You're familiar with this, right?
I think, like, even Facebook has this, right? Like, if you find a bug, you get cash.
Yeah. So basically, it's an open offer to the world to pen test you live. And so this provides a lot more assurance because the results matter. Because if you don't fix it, if you've got easy stuff, you're going to be paying out a lot. And if you don't fix it, you're going to keep paying out a lot. And
Precious system.
Sorry, say it again.
So I imagine if you haven't fixed easy stuff, somebody comes into your like online SaaS platform and tries something and they wipe half of DB, let's say. Like, you need to do the
and then they ask for their 50K reward. So it's much harder to fake a successful bug bounty program. And for sophisticated software firms, it is increasingly a mark of quality. It doesn't replace a pen test, but if you're looking for like a checklist item, I would trust a bug bounty more than a pen test at this point. Like, the incentives are better structured for a higher fidelity indicator of a quality that your company cares about security.
Well, I would argue it depends. If you have official documentation, you have like a proof that there was like protocol followed, there were like some certain steps done, there were rules and all of that stuff. And on bug bounty, it doesn't mean that you have enough money placed for bug. So you might have this program open, maybe nobody wants to do it, but you have it, and you proudly brag about it. It's a bit of...
Think about it from the side of how much effort do I have to invest to get truth? Or like how fast does the truth per effort curve go up? So what I want as a company, I want to spend as little effort as I can to get the best, the most accurate indication of quality that I can. And this is why we have like certifications and quality testing and audits and stuff, right? So you can get like a reasonable proxy. And so you don't have to go through the effort of checking checking all their stuff yourself. With a pen test, you have to go find the firm, figure out how rigorous they were, figure out how competent the people were who tested the thing, try to assess their reputation, try to assess, did they lob them a softball? Was there a secret scope that you didn't know about? Whereas a bug bounty, you just go onto the bug bounty program and you see how big are the amounts? Is anybody going to go for these? Right? Much easier to get a good indication of trust. And if they're not paying, you just go onto the bug bounty forums and say, like, you Google the name of the company, bug bounty program, and you see if you get like 20,000 pen testers complaining about they didn't pay my bounty. There are companies like that. Apple's getting that way.
Really?
Yeah.
Free labor.
Free labor. Well, yeah, free labor. But it negatively impacts trust, right? For the companies who know what they're doing. So a lot of companies not as keen on Apple's security. Apple talks a good security game, but not so much in the due diligence space. They're Google level.
They're not. Well, but they're very good salesmen. That's for
yeah.
sure.
They make a mean iPad. I'm not going to argue with that.
All right. So we kind of out of time, so we need to wrap it up. So I want everybody to have a chance to reach out to you. I will share links to your LinkedIn, to your website, and maybe you have anything, for the audience to tell, why they can reach out to you, what they can expect, what you can do to help them.
Yeah, we answer those questions. I think, as you probably could tell, we focus on high trust businesses because they're the ones who usually care the most about results. We don't talk to public companies, just privately held ones of a certain size where they're all looking for solid results. There's no weird incentives at play, like we were talking about. We clearly answer to all up and down the stack, from executives worried about 12 things per second to, deep builders and doers. What do you need to do? And how worried should you be? And what's the easiest thing to do about it? And we also show it all on kind of a P&L, like a reverse P&L report that shows likely financial risk as a managed service. So that's kind of our calling card. I have not seen anyone do it yet. There was a company that got big, but they failed. They tried, but we do it well.
Good then. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Had anything else? Sorry, bye.
I will say, don't Google us. SimpleSalt, go onto your favorite social media. We do better on social media than Google these days. We are here to answer security questions. It is a missional org. We're here to demystify security. There is more misconception than truth about it in the world right now. And we want to help the people who want real truth and find the easy and correct answers. All right, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, it's really mysterious, a kind of grayish zone, that security and cybersecurity, all that stuff. So definitely such companies and such services are really crucial to even know about, to help people, because Ian and I working with IT a lot, that's mine, bread and butter. It's that part is still, different, different specialty completely. All right, so thank you everybody for listening, and subscribe, follow, don't forget, and see you soon next time in the next video. I hope you learned enough and you have something that you can apply in your own business and life. See you soon. Take care. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.